In a first-of-its-kind announcement, Major League Baseball is heading to Bristol Motor Speedway. We react to the league's official announcement about Braves and Reds in Bristol Motor Speedway in 2025. The other big stories of the day involve the New York Mets business operations president saying that there's only two true stars in Major League Baseball. What can be done to make more big-name players marketable to fan bases across Major League Baseball? The latest going on with a new look for the Cleveland Browns, trying to find a brand new stadium, it sounds like, somewhere in the greater Cleveland metro area. The NWSL reaches a brand new CBA agreement with their players and Players Association. And also, what's going on with Marvin Harrison Jr.'s ongoing lawsuit involving Fanatics. That and more on a Friday afternoon edition of Press Row to kick off your weekend right here and right now. This Coast to Coast Entertainment Network program is brought to you by Beside Me Bracelets. Our bracelets are handmade for any occasion. Use the promo code Coast to Coast for 15% off. Visit their website at besideme.com. Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry. With 24-hour shopping available, use the code 160920 and show her some love, like she showed us. Reaper Apparel Company, a commitment to live your most authentic way every single day. Visit reaperapparelco.com for more information and a look at all of their apparel offerings. And by Good Day Embroidery, your local source for custom embroidery, screen printing, and more. Log on to gooddayembroidery.com for more information. A very happy Friday, everybody. It is a special Friday afternoon edition of Press Row, live and in full on C2C, better known as the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network, on a beautiful, sunny, and breezy Friday, August the 9th, 2024. Back in studio, folks. Callan McClurg back with you today. As mentioned, a special Friday episode of PR today due to the fact I was at work kicking off my 16th season behind the public address microphone last night at the University of San Diego, but glad to be with you folks here this week and to get another episode of Press Row off the ground and running for this Friday afternoon, August the 9th, 2024. Of course, folks, on Press Row, we talk about all the big sports news away from wins and losses as we talk all things involving the sports media and sports business landscape today. Again, we're going to be getting to some very interesting topics, and we invite your input on Facebook, on YouTube, or on the Callan McClurg Sports Twitch channel. And also, of course, as well, you're invited, as always, to like our content, share our content, and subscribe to us on YouTube and like our page on Facebook. All of our handles are, as always, scroll across your bottom line this afternoon here today. With that in mind, folks, let's dive into our opening segment today. That is about the official announcement made today on this Friday that Major League Baseball is going to be heading to Bristol Motor Speedway down in Bristol, Tennessee, starting in the 2025 season, set to make their grand debut at Bristol Motor Speedway and set to make history with a regular season game being played at the famed Bristol Motor Speedway in Tennessee in 2025. The game features the Atlanta Braves and Cincinnati Reds to be held on August 2nd. It was being dubbed the MLB Speedway Classic. The unique setting of the legendary speedway with a baseball diamond placed across the track and infield will provide an unforgettable experience for fans and for both teams. The event is also expected to be is expected to attract a wide array of fans celebrating the rich traditions of sports, music, and community in Tennessee and beyond. The game will be a home game for the Reds and will also be televised nationally on Fox Sports. Bristol is best known, as always, for its iconic moments in NASCAR and will now host baseball in a one-of-a-kind setting in 2025, and they could have at least 150,000 people attending this game. Apart from the game, there will be additional fan experiences and events surrounding the contest, and Tennessee is also known for their rich baseball history and notable big league players as well, is the perfect location to host this groundbreaking event. The state also boasts a strong baseball presence with several minor league organizations and a recent College World Series championship won by the Tennessee Volunteers just a few months ago. We talked about this, folks, on Tuesday, talked about this on Wednesday, and now here again here on Friday. This is great to see baseball expand their horizons. Again, folks, we talked about this on Tuesday with myself and James Gonzalez. Adam and James and I talked about this on Wednesday on Sports Minute, that it's one thing for a sports league to go to a new country to get eyeballs in that market on their sport. Baseball, again, going to England the past 2 years. They've gone to Mexico. They've gone to Korea. They've gone to Japan. They've gone to Australia. They've gone to places like that. But it's more about what I have been saying this week here on Press Row and here on C2C at 9 and on Sports Minute, is that you have to begin to think outside the box. We can't always be catering to the same markets over and over again. Where, like I have said, I would love to see baseball go to Dublin, Ireland, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, more places where cricket is probably their version of baseball, but to bring America's national pastime to a new setting where people can now get eyeballs on the product. That's why I believe, as I said on Wednesday, that's why the NFL, though again, anti-NFL fan over here, that's why that they've been successful. They have gone to newer places. Ireland, England, Germany, talks of Spain. They're going to Brazil coming up in a few weeks for the Eagles and the Packers. That's where baseball's been missing. Now, the NBA has done a great job. NHL's done a great job. Major League Soccer, I mean, it is what it is with that being the global game. But baseball has always been lagging, in my opinion, behind the NFL, behind the NBA, and behind the NHL when it boils down to thinking outside the box as opposed to the same safe places. I think about that when I think about the 1999 FIFA Women's World Cup. If you have not, folks, seen the documentary that ESPN Plus did on the 1999 women's national team, Julie Foudy brought up the point, do we just play this in small college stadiums, on the East Coast and Midwest and not go, and not think outside the box of Stanford Stadium, the Rose Bowl, Gillette Stadium, Giant Stadium? Like, do we play it safe and just go play in college stadiums like in Chicago or in New York? Or do we go out of our comfort zone and make the Women's World Cup a spectacle by going to the NFL stadiums? And it was a smashing success, as we all know about what happened 25 years ago. That's where I think baseball has had to go. They have had to go and think way out of their comfort zone. Don't sell me on Korea. Don't sell me on Japan, Australia, or Mexico. You already have people down there who love baseball. I'm talking about you now have to go to Ireland, Germany, Spain, China again. You have to go to Brazil or Argentina. Like, you have to begin not playing it safe by going to countries that know the game. This right here, I think, though, has plenty of advantages. For one, this will probably break the baseball attendance record that I believe was set by the Dodgers and Diamondbacks in Sydney, Australia, where they had 106,000 plus people at a cricket stadium for a spring training game. This will become easily the most attended regular season game. But as I kind of brought up on Tuesday and Wednesday, now this begins to, I believe, really open the door now for Nashville and for Tennessee to become a baseball market. I doubt it'll be the White Sox. It might really, folks, in my opinion, be a plan B for the Oakland A's. Maybe plan C. I believe it's more of a factor of now the league is trying to test the waters for expansion. And I think that Tennessee does fit. because, as James alluded to on Tuesday here on C2C at night, there's not a whole lot in that area. You have the Braves, the Reds, the Guardians, and the Cubs and White Sox, but nothing for the area of Kentucky, Tennessee, the Virginias, you name it, where James made the great point. You know, the Braves will bring up people from the South, the deep South, Georgia, probably Alabama, probably Mississippi, maybe up the Carolinas and up to West Virginia and Virginia. Then the Reds will bring their own contingent of fans from Ohio, maybe some in Indiana. And also, how about those fans in Kentucky and those fans in Tennessee who have been watching minor league baseball for their entire lives? Now they get a taste of Major League Baseball. Now, it may not be like the traditional way of, wow, we're going to go to Bristol Motor Speedway to watch a baseball game. Regardless, I think this begins to test those waters for those fans who are fans of the Nashville Sounds. For example, the AAA club for the Milwaukee Brewers, or the Tennessee Smokies, or the Louisville Bats. I also think having a very dynamic player like Ellie De La Cruz and the Reds playing in this game against, America's team of the 90s on TBS with the Braves, as James alluded to on Tuesday, a lot of people down there grew up with the Bravos because of TBS having the games on national TV or on their cable package. But I also brought up, though, how would this work, though? Would this really look like the Dodgers playing their 4 years at the LA Coliseum when they came from Brooklyn in 58 for 4 years? Here is a rendering right now of what it would look like at this rate for Major League Baseball going to the Speedway. So we have a little bit of a suspended Final Four scoreboard kind of dangling over the field of play. It's a little interesting. What appears to be a bunch of tarps that just have the matchup in one half of the track and seating built in down the third baseline around home plate like it's a college venue. Batter's eye takes up about 40 rows of seats and then seating all the way around the horseshoe. It's pretty amazing. It kind of, in a way, reminds me a little bit of when the Chargers were in San Diego and they played at Balboa Stadium. How it was a half horseshoe with a bunch of Roman-era columns in the end zone when they were in the American Football League and won the only championship in San Diego major sports history back in '63. I'm a little surprised, though, that there's not any spots for select people to maybe bring their RVs in like they would for the NASCAR race and maybe camp out on the track behind the seating bowl or behind this temporary seating bowl down the third baseline. But I think this can work. I really think this can work. And again, it's more of an onus, I think, that Major League Baseball finally has picked up upon, that you have to begin, not necessarily to expand, but you now have to keep up pace now with the other major sports leagues who are doing more and more things to raise the bar when it comes to getting the product to new markets, let alone a new country. So, folks, give me your thoughts here about what you believe will work or not work with Major League Baseball playing their first ever game at Bristol Motor Speedway coming up in 2025 in early August between the Braves and the Reds, which will mark the first ever Major League Baseball game to be played at a motor speedway, announced early on Friday morning in Bristol, Tennessee, here today. And a quick hello to our good man, Tim Hendricks, who writes in saying, "Go Sounds," the longtime AAA affiliate for the Brewers. I believe they've been with a bunch of other teams, but notably, I believe right now they're with the Brewers as their AAA club. And Tim, I think you probably know very well, my man, though, too, if there's been a major push, I believe, to build the Sounds a brand new ballpark that might be able to host a new franchise in Nashville, Tennessee. And again, I think, Tim, that this is a starting point now that we begin to test the waters of Tennessee. Again, great sports town. Titans, the Predators in the NHL, Nashville SC in Major League Soccer. They have a beautiful brand new stadium too. The Titans are getting a brand new stadium as well pretty soon. The Predators, they'll have a very interesting year having Jonathan Marchessault and Steven Stamkos coming to town after being free agents over the offseason. Now, though, perhaps baseball now becomes on the radar for Nashville sports fans pretty soon. And, Tim, I do believe that this would probably become a plan C for the departing Oakland Athletics. I wanted to get into that today, folks. I think I'll save it for next week about what the A's have announced. They have put out a logo for their final homestand. They made a very phony baloney-like tribute post to Oakland, California that I thought was very distasteful over the past 24 or 48 hours. We'll get into that, though, probably more next week, or maybe as we get closer to that final Oakland homestand for the Athletics later in the season. Let's, folks, move on in baseball, but to the star market. A very interesting report was put out and a very interesting interview given by New York Mets president of business operations, Scott Havens, acknowledging that there is a lack of star power in professional baseball, a sentiment shared by many across the baseball industry. During a front office sports huddle in the Hamptons event, Scott Havens discussed the elusive title of the current face of baseball, which has been a topic of debate since Derek Jeter retired over a decade ago. He has identified Dodgers players Shohei Ohtani and Yankees slugger Aaron Judge as the potential faces of the sport, but expressed concern that their fame may not be as widespread enough to attract broader interest. Havens has also highlighted the importance of storytelling and promoting baseball players, citing the success of documentary series like, for example, HBO's Hard Knocks covering the NFL, or on other athletes and even specific teams. Scott also mentioned promising young players like Pirates ace Paul Skeens, Royals young stud Bobby Witt Jr., Mariners outfielder Julio Rodriguez, and Reds speedster Elly De La Cruz, who may not be as well known nationally but have compelling stories that could resonate with baseball fans. Furthermore, Havens also drew parallels between his past experiences in media and his current role in leading the business operations of the New York Mets, emphasizing the similarities in selling tickets and corporate sponsorships. He also expressed optimism about the future of the game and the potential for growth and engaging fans through compelling narratives and innovative content to reach a broader audience. This is also an area, I think, that a lot of baseball pundits struggle with. That we can't really truly identify who is the guy in Major League Baseball. And I believe Scott Havens is right. No, it's not a small market or Padre fan bias. But when you do have the two biggest names in the sport of Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge playing for the two highly superior LA County or New York City-based franchises, that is a problem for a league like Major League Baseball, where I believe that is a reason why a lot of fans in the sports world turn off baseball, because you have, your two big studs are in the two largest media markets, and the 28 other franchises are fighting over breadcrumbs. Now, I would agree, though, that the young guys, though, are promising. You hope that Paul Skeens doesn't break down. Bobby Witt Jr. got that long-term deal in Kansas City. Julio Rodriguez, he's been beat up, banged up, chewed and spit out in Seattle. And Elly De La Cruz swipes a base every time you blink your eyes. So you got a pretty good foundation right there with young talent. But I think, though, it's difficult when two of the biggest names in pro sports play in the markets of LA and New York, mainly more in baseball. Because I think, though, with the NFL having their juggernaut right now in Kansas City, Missouri, not in the greater Boston metro area, not New York, not New Jersey, not Chicago, not even Los Angeles, that's a win for the NFL. Having the Celtics back on top, good for the NBA. But also the Mavericks being relevant last year, the Timberwolves being relevant last year, the Nuggets winning it all the year prior. And all those teams I mentioned have at least one or two names you know. Nikola Jokic, for example, Anthony Edwards, Luka Doncic. You know, the NHL having Florida win it all this past season over the almighty Edmonton Oilers. Yeah, the Oilers had brand name players like Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and Evan Bouchard and players like that. But that non-traditional market winning it all was huge. And now think of Major League Soccer having Lionel Messi, the single best thing going for soccer, now playing in a league for a long time that was an afterthought for guys like David Beckham and Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Carlos Vela. You know, and now Inter Miami is building something nice with their contingent of FC Barcelona holdovers for so long. But again, I believe that the only reason why I think that that is the case, folks, is all those leagues have salary caps in place. Now, sadly, baseball will never go down the route of a salary cap. But I think that the debate, though, of the face of the league, though, is always one that is very contentious. You know, it's very, very back and forth about, you know, who should it be. And I think that it is a little bit, though, tough for baseball, but just because of the fact of, like, you know, for a long time we thought it was Mike Trout, but Trout's been saddled by injuries the past 4 to 5 years, sadly. And he's on a ball club who has really not gone anywhere in his whole career, minus their last division title in 2014. You know, you had it going with Ohtani and Trout, but again, they both were beat up and injured at the same times usually, and then Ohtani, of course, goes to the LA Dodgers. But I do think, though, that despite what has, you know, with Ohtani and Judge, I think Scott Havens is right. You know, that there is a lack of big-name players that obviously Ohtani and Judge is one thing. But also I think that baseball just doesn't do enough to market their product, as we have said for a long time. And I mainly think that that is a problem for the league front office. That how can you not market guys like Jackson Merrill and Fernando Tatis Jr. in San Diego? Or a kid like Zach Neto with the Angels? Or a very exciting Arizona Diamondbacks ball club led by guys like Corbin Carroll, for example, and Christian Walker. Yeah, they're not the sexy names. Yeah, they're in the small markets. But I really just think, though, that this is more of a baseball problem with the front office. Now, I will say, folks, that maybe the only saving grace out of this whole entire ordeal is that the league went the route of the schedule change in 2022 or 2023, where now every franchise plays each other regardless of league affiliation. I know a lot of people have said, oh, you're watering it down by having so much emphasis on interleague play. At the end of the day, though, from the business perspective, did you really want teams like the Padres, who have been building this thing, you know, for a while here, who now have the likes of Machado, Bogarts, and all those guys, but they only go and play in New York every 6 to 8 years? Or would you rather have the onus now, where next season the Padres go and play in the Bronx? That's more of why I think that the schedule change has helped, because now you're getting those eyeballs in New York and Boston on teams like San Diego and Arizona and, you know, other small market franchises who are kind of hanging in there or have gotten to the top right now of the division or the wild card. But I just really wonder, though, what baseball can do. I think they've started to do something good, though, by changing that schedule format. Yes, you can complain about the amount of interleague games, folks. But imagine the NBA or NHL not going that route, or the NFL only saying, it's conference only. You know, you're not going to play the best teams in the NFC. That is more of a marketing ploy, I think, that I have been behind. Where, again, you can send the Padres this year to Boston to let the Red Sox fans watch Jackson Merrill play, for example. Or you can expose Boston and New York to the Arizona Diamondbacks, for example. So I do think, folks, that is it's a epidemic right now that baseball has to figure out, but they've got a good starting point with that schedule tweak of where everybody plays everybody, where you get to see teams you probably never had seen or you probably have seen, but you would wait every year for that rotation about, okay, what division we're going to play for interleague play. But the young kids, though, I think are holding their weight with Skeens and Witt Jr. and Julio Rodriguez and Ellie De La Cruz. But I think more does need to be done where you don't always have to make it about the Los Angeles Dodgers and New York Yankees. Believe me, I love and respect those two players in Ohtani and Judge. But the fact that one of them plays in my division in the National League West for one of the, if not biggest team that I despise the most as a sports fan, really doesn't help the product out when that can be a thing. So again, folks, give us your thoughts here. What do you believe here about Scott Havens' remarks saying that right now between Ohtani and Aaron Judge, there's no true face of Major League Baseball and that the league has been hurting itself by having these two guys with these two big market teams, though, but that more should be done in regards to getting more of the smaller market stars like Skeens and Merrill more national pub, maybe, in your perspective. A couple of thoughts do come in here. From James Gonzalez. Hopefully, James, you're feeling better, my man. He says, first and foremost, that the sight lines of the raceway look awful. Yeah, that is a pretty rough ordeal right now, James, with how things are looking. In a way, like, I would really hate, James, to be like way in foul territory, like near where that Braves versus Reds advertisement is and sitting there, almost like at a diagonal angle. Like, that looks like a horrible obstructed view seat for a concert at a ballpark, if you ask me, without a doubt. Further, James also adds on here. He says that Major League Baseball star players are hurt or they went west to get big contracts away from East Coast folks who don't stay up to watch the West Coast games. And, James, that is a very great point. At least Judge stayed in New York, where he's been already become a household name, I should say. But also, James, that also, I believe, would be a fair comparison to the NBA's Western Conference. Lakers, the Clippers, Golden State, Sacramento, the Suns, the Jazz, the Nuggets, the Rockets, like all the Western Conference teams just beat the crap out of each other. But at the end of the day, James, you're right, because they all went west. Whether it's the weather, the tax issues or, their taxes or whatnot. Again, I do agree that is a bit of a problem in a way, but also I agree, though, that East Coast folks, James, would not stay up or don't stay up probably to watch a West Coast game unless they're a fan of the Mets, the Red Sox, or Yankees, where their team's on the West Coast. Like, I'm sure Philly fans are staying up to watch them play in Phoenix right now when they play at, 6:40 Pacific time today. And I think, James, it also goes to my point, though. That's why the new interleague thing, I believe, does work. Because now you can, in a way, force those Yankee fans to stay up as they did back in late May to watch them club the Padres 2 out of 3 games here in San Diego. But also let them see firsthand about Merrill and all these young kids in San Diego, along with, again, the bona fide stars. James also says, give it time, Cal. The future stars of the game are here and more are coming. Have to be patient, but the league is running out of popularity. That's why I said, James, that's where I think that you and I agree, where, again, the NFL has their best team right now. The back-to-back champs play in Missouri, not in New England, not in San Francisco, not in Los Angeles. They play in smack dab the middle of the country in Kansas City, Missouri. The NBA champs are in Boston this year, but the year prior they went to Denver, Colorado. The NHL having another non-traditional hockey market down in South Florida win it all this past season. Baseball's popularity, I agree, James, is going down the drain because of how, again, I know those sports have salary caps, my man. But again, though, when you have Ohtani and Judge, media market A and B, What does that say for the other 28 markets out there who are fighting over the breadcrumbs? So I think, James, you're right. Baseball is dwindling, and that should be a wake-up call to the front office in the league commissioner's office. You got to get these small market teams and these small market players more publicity. And James also says that he loves the parody of the NHL postseason. I could not agree more, not as a hockey fan or an announcer bias, James, but I agree. I think the simple fact of since 1993, there's been no Canadian-based franchise who's won it. But also, I think, though, James, about like those teams getting hot at the right time. The 03 Mighty Ducks, for example, knocking out the Red Wings, who won the Cup the year beforehand in a 4-game sweep. The 2012 Kings, the number 8 seed, winning it all that year. The parody of the NHL is just phenomenal. And now here they are all of a sudden at 32 franchises, leapfrogging Major League Baseball in popularity. Maybe surpassing, James, the NBA in popularity. I think you had pretty much said that, though, too, during the Cup Finals when we had our recaps. Like, you had felt that the NHL had surpassed the NBA in popularity. And I would probably agree with you. Not, again, bias aside from me being a hockey fan and an announcer and a former hockey player, I would definitely, James, agree with that sentiment. And also, Tim also writes, parity in sports is the best thing for sports. Thank you, Tim. I know you would agree with you being a, Milwaukee Bucks fan and seeing the team winning in 2021. That's more, I think, Tim, the thing I always, have to remind a lot of people is that it can't always be about LA and New York. Like, it has to be about San Diego and Milwaukee and markets like that, where I think that's part of, where a lot of sports have failed, is that they don't want to acknowledge that these teams are good in a roundabout way. That might be ludicrous, but I think sometimes it's hard, though, for a lot of these media pundits to actually, golf clap and applaud and actually give the San Diego Padres their flowers, or give the Brewers their flowers, or the Denver Nuggets their praise. Because, well, you're not LA, you're not New York, you're not Chicago, nobody cares. We can't find you on the map, so you don't matter. I think as we have more and more of these stories of like the Diamondbacks run last year, the Rangers run last year, the Padres run in 2022, that I know respect is earned, not given, but I think more respect has to be given out now because of what those teams have done and what they're doing right now in 2024. We'll move away, folks, from baseball to the NFL and another potential new stadium. But once again, it's the Cleveland Browns who are, again, also looking for a new or refurb stadium. Dating back as recently as 2017, they have been considering whether to renovate their current stadium or build a brand new one. The Haslam Sports Group has secured a purchase option for land in Brook Park, Ohio, near the airport for a potential new domed stadium and mixed-use complex. The Browns want a 65,000-seat stadium with mixed-use development property on site for $1.2 billion in investment. The team has already begun to explore the Brook Park option and finds it attractive due to its central location. The team is also looking to find and consider innovative funding measures to support the project without tapping into taxpayer funding. The current stadium would also require significant improvements to remain sustainable, and building a roof over it is not right now economically feasible. Ultimately, the Browns have until August 12th, so literally next Tuesday, to respond to the city's proposal. But all indications suggest that the team is leaning right now towards the Brook Park site for their new stadium. The plan would encompass a state-of-the-art dome complex with extensive development that will create economic opportunities and enhance the Browns fan experience for many years to come. So not just the Chicago Bears, but now the Cleveland Browns want in on a new stadium with a dome. Now, folks, please, before you give me the runaround about, hey, wait a second, why a dome stadium? Outdoor football is the best in these markets when it's snowing. Inhale, please. Exhale. The current sports market right now, folks, once again, does not always revolve around the National Football League. Again, you can say what you want about me not liking American football, but please, once again, know that a stadium like Cleveland Brown Stadium, which just hosted SummerSlam this past Sunday, where all hell broke loose in WWE, it's not always about professional American football. The explosion right now of the men's and women's Final Four in college basketball, the college football playoff, the Super Bowl, obviously, but other events would need to go to a stadium with a dome or a warm weather climate. Hence why San Diego had 3 Super Bowls before this town got dumped by the Spanos family and by the NFL. I do believe a dome stadium now kind of in a way becomes a brand new ordeal for the NFL franchises, because now we are looking at global competition coming here, folks, in 2 years with the FIFA World Cup. And then 4 years from now, the Olympics are in Los Angeles. 10 years from now, the Winter Games are in Salt Lake City, Utah. So if we want more of these big events to come to these, cold weather markets, you've got to put it in a dome. I know you can make a lot of revenue, folks, with your 8 or 9 NFL games, but I do think a bit about Petco Park in a way. Now, again, I know I'm comparing apples to oranges. Spare me the BS. But Petco Park, though, folks, for the past, I'd say, 4 years, coming out of COVID, and what the Padres have single-handedly done to make Petco Park more than just a baseball stadium is beyond incredible. I've gone to concerts there. I've gone to basketball games there. We had the Holiday Bowl for college football that was played there before it went to Snapdragon or goes to Snapdragon this upcoming season. And what that has done to give the Padres more revenue away from baseball games. We just had the Foo Fighters come through on Wednesday. San Diego's own Blink-182 came through with San Diego's own Pierce the Veil back in late July. I think I've gone to 4 concerts at Petco, and it's been amazing. Weird, though, for a guy who's gone there for baseball games to see basketball be played there and concerts being there. But I think now that is where we are now at, with the opportunity now for cities like Cleveland and Chicago, who now want to host the basketball Final Four, the college football playoff, the Super Bowl, and other big-name events like that. You may have to get a new stadium or add a dome. The only problem, though, now is like, oh, no, here we go again with the Cleveland Browns, for example, because we know about what Art Modell did to that city, much like Dean Spanos here in San Diego. And even in a way, one more San Diego thought about that is the concern involving Snapdragon Stadium. You folks may or may not know, but when the stadium first opened up for SDSU football, we were smack dab here in San Diego in a very uncharacteristic September heat wave. It was 108 degrees at game time. 108 in San Diego County or in the city never happens. Right now, it is currently 77 degrees. For it to be 108 degrees at this time of the day in the city is unheard of. Snapdragon was built kind of unfinished because for some ungodly reason, this town is for some stupid reason holding out hope that the NFL is going to come crawling back to this market where they can build 20,000 more seats to enclose the stadium to make it fit for the NFL, which is not going to happen anytime soon. And I hope it doesn't, and I know it's not going to. Regardless, there was no shade or some type of dome to even keep the sun kind of in a way out of the stadium. And it was really bad. It was a kind of a rough night for or day for SDSU football. It was a 12:30 p.m. kickoff on CBS nationally, and the seating bowl was totally empty because of there being no shade. All the fans were in the shade outside the seating bowl on the concourse. And that has been a bit of a talking point as well for the upcoming Major League Soccer season because of MLS having rules in place about, it has to be a soccer specific stadium and there has to be some kind of a shade structure kind of over the field of play or over the stands. Now, per an announcement I saw about a week or so ago, having, being a part of the supporter groups for SDFC, they put out an infographic saying that there would be that 90% of all home games would be at 7:30 in the evening on Saturdays, with the occasional Wednesdays or Fridays or Sundays. But I believe that there would have to be like a shade of some type to be placed around the seating bowl at Snapdragon Stadium. Regardless, the Browns, though, and don't mind the door if you're watching, folks. That's the dog coming in here to see what I'm doing here on the air. But I do believe, though, that where we are at right now, folks, in the sports ecosystem of cities now who want to bid for the Super Bowl, the CFP, and other events like concerts or WWE, they will begin going to more stadiums who have the big enough capacity, but also because the dome would be there. But I do wonder, though, if the Browns can make this work. I just hate to see, like, the Browns go through this again, but I doubt that they'll be going anywhere anytime soon to be moving out of the city once more. If they go to Brook Park, that'd be mainly just them going to a suburb. Again, folks, it is not like the Chargers leaving San Diego for a whole nother city. I know some of you probably flunked geography out there. Look at a map. San Diego and LA are not the same thing. And people like me take offense to that when we get grouped in with LA, because we're not even close to it. But again, folks, give me your thoughts here. What do you believe the future now holds for the Browns in Cleveland? Again, talk of a brand new 65,000-seat dome stadium worth about $1.2 billion in investments. But again, the Browns might be reluctant due to some things right now on the table, but we'll see what goes from there. At this rate, Tim first writes, the Browns have not won a playoff game in that stadium anyway. Maybe you changed the mojo. Who knows about that, Tim? James also says that the Browns rendering looks awful outside and inside. All the new stadiums look alike inside. No unique personality. James, do you also get that somewhat sentiment, though, too, with how a lot of these other teams like the Jags and the Titans and the Panthers are they're all kind of building like the same similar style shaped stadiums? Like there's no features that stick out, like how I think, James, how how all 30 baseball ballparks have something unique about them. Whether it's Petco and the Western Metal Supply Company building, Angel Stadium having the Big A in the parking lot, or the rock pile in left center field. Like there's no creativity being used right now by NFL teams for a new stadium when it comes to renderings. So I do agree about that at this rate. Tim also writes that Cleveland domes their stadium, and they can use it for things like basketball and more WWE PLEs, which I believe is called premium live events now, not pay-per-views. Yeah, Tim, I saw some highlights from Saturday, from SummerSlam. Very great crowd, lively crowd. I loved how they incorporated the rock and roll element of Cleveland into their production with their graphics and on-air stuff. But I believe, though, you dome their stadium or you dome Soldier Field, you're sitting pretty. Like I said, Tim, I wish that people would, again, realize this goes beyond the NFL for once. Again, I know, Tim, I've been railing against the NFL, and I always do that, and I'm sorry about that, bud. But again, you have to make it more about just the NFL. You only get like 8 or 9 guaranteed dates for the NFL. So what are you doing to fill the rest of the calendar? You can't just make your living off 8 or 9 home games for American football. Again, Cleveland being able to take over with SummerSlam, concerts. But again, if you're going to be bidding for March Madness or bidding for the CFP or the Super Bowl, you've got to have a dome or be in a warm weather climate like somewhere in California, Houston, for example, or whatnot. James also agrees. I do hate the fact, Callan, that the new Bills Stadium in Buffalo has no dome either. I think James Marv Levy said it right back in the 90s. When it's too cold or too tough for them, it's just right for us. Again, I don't think, though, sadly, that we'll be seeing anything going to Buffalo for a while, unless it's the Sabres or the Bandits or any of that right now at this rate. And also, James says that, sadly, Cleveland is not a tourist city either. I mean, other than the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I would probably agree a little bit with that sentiment, though. But, I do think, though, you've got, Major League Baseball there. You've got the NFL. You've got a, respectable NBA franchise there. And then you got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So, I mean, maybe, but I really don't know about that at this rate. And James also agrees the new stadiums look like spaceships or grill tops and apartments on the outside. Case in point, Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas, for the Rangers. And also, Tim says, Callan, I agree completely about my take about it not being about the NFL. Look what Indianapolis has done since they built Lucas Oil Stadium. That is a beautiful stadium, by the way, Tim. When I was back east visiting family and we were driving back across the country, my uncle and I in this U-Haul in 2019 drove from Connecticut to San Diego in about 5 days. And we stopped in suburban Indianapolis. We drove by Lucas Oil Stadium. I'm like, wow. That is a beautiful venue. And Tim, just in case in point, USA Swimming having the Olympic trials for Paris at Lucas Oil Stadium. 20, 25, 30,000 people every night at the Colt Stadium for swimming. Unbelievable. Again, that is how it's supposed to be done. Not worried about the Colts every time. March Madness, the CFP, the NFL Combine, and now Lucas Oil Stadium also doing USA swimming trials for the Paris Games earlier this summer. And earlier in the spring as well. Just wanted to check on the dog. Sorry about that, folks. We will now, folks, move on to the ongoing lawsuit involving recently drafted Cardinals wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. But the ongoing dispute between Fanatics and Cardinals rookie wideout Marvin Harrison Jr. took a new turn for the worst, maybe, with recent affidavits, leading to a judge allowing the company to refile a new lawsuit versus the recently drafted Cardinals wideout. Fanatics had sued Harrison back in May for breaching their agreement and claiming it did not exist, which he denied last month. Harrison Jr. also stated that the agreement was signed by his dad, legendary Colts receiver Marvin Harrison Sr., on behalf of the official Harrison collection. Fanatics, though, however, has pointed out that the document bears the younger Harrison's initials, not his dad's signature whatsoever. The judge also has given Fanatics a 2-week notice to refile their lawsuit after Harrison received over $110,000 from autographs, a claim his lawyers have long disputed. The NFL Players Association has advised against selling Harrison's jerseys as the legal feud does continue, with both parties seeking mediation to resolve the matter at hand. Very interesting for a rookie just recently drafted to already be caught in hot water like this. Now, James, I know you're in the box saying about that Marvin Jr. should have just fallen in line like everybody else. James, can you correct me if I'm wrong? But he cannot but I guess he can't appear in the Madden video games either, I believe, if I'm correct about that, because of his suit or something else that's going on. But this is a very interesting story, folks, and I really don't know what the parameters are for this. Maybe it's just my feeble lack of knowledge of the NFL. But this is something very, very strange that we'd be having a recently drafted hotshot rookie being sued by a merchandise corporation regarding breaching a contract that apparently did or did not exist whatsoever. Now, if the reports are true that Harrison Sr. signed this contract, I don't like it already for the fact of this feels like it'd be a little bit like LeVar Ball and Lonzo Ball with the Lakers. Kind of in a way, mom and dad controlling their kids and whatnot and not wanting them to be like free, like free spirits and actually let them be on their own. But this is just a very interesting story, folks. Just very weird, I think, that a recently drafted player now all of a sudden is caught in hot water over, a lawsuit involving, um, merchandise and money for autographs. This is very, very bizarre. And we'll see what plays out here. It'll be very interesting to see if this case actually, excuse me, does go back to mediation. But just, I think it's a bit of a rough start for a player recently drafted to now being wrangled into controversy already before the year even begins, is where I think I stand on this. And James clarifies that Marvin Jr. was finally added to Madden back in June of this year. But again, folks, we'll see what plays out here with this Marvin Harrison Jr. lawsuit involving kind of like, he said, she said, they said, we said, involving his collective and his parents allegedly signing a contract regarding Fanatics and a potential deal for autographs for $110,000. James also says, to add on to more bad pub for rookies, he says, Cal, look no further than your boy Caleb Williams and his posse putting themselves in asking for things from the National Football League. Yeah, that's another weird story. I think, James, I remember that he was asking for like money for an LLC. He wanted guaranteed money. He wanted a veterans deal, which you can't do. Already, I think, James, both Harrison Jr. and Williams have shot themselves in the foot, a la Garrett Crochet with the White Sox saying, well, if you trade me, I have to sign a long-term extension. Yeah, that's not how you operate business, sadly, if you're a rookie or a veteran guy like Garrett Crochet. We'll move on, folks. And James also said, by the way, that Williams' team wanted ownership of the Bears. You really want to operate one of the worst-run franchises in the NFL next to the LA Chargers? I don't think you want to do that, sadly. Let's, folks, move on to our last topic here with the NWSL. The National Women's Soccer League and their players' union have reached a new CBA agreement that will last until the 2030 season, adding more stability and improving conditions for their players. The agreement will include higher compensation and more player freedom, reflecting the league's growth and increased valuations. The NWSL franchises have also seen a huge appreciation in value, with the average team now worth at least $66 million. Recent sales involving the likes of both San Diego Wave and Angel City FC have highlighted this trend. The Wave were sold from Ron Berkeley to a new ownership group worth at least $113 million. The new labor accord will benefit both players and owners, ensuring labor peace and setting the stage for future media negotiations. The current CBA, signed 2 years ago following a major scandal within the league, marked a huge step forward for players with increased salaries, benefits, and the introduction of free agency. The league has also secured lucrative television deals totaling $240 million over 4 years, providing more stability financially going forward for the NWSL. Again, folks, I'm going to say it. You may not like it, but the growth of women's sports, again, cannot be underappreciated or not talked about. And now, folks, we're seeing things that we never have seen now in women's sports. The likes of the WNBA smashing records every game day because of Caitlin Clark, Cameron Brink, Angel Reese, notably. The PWHL launching their women's hockey league this year to smashing success with their own attendance records in their 6 markets. The WNBA expanding over the next 2 years to San Francisco and to Toronto. And now the NWSL, folks, sees their 2 newest franchises in San Diego and Angel City up in Los Angeles both get sold to new ownership groups for record-setting deals. The Wave had 32,000 people attend their first ever home game at Snapdragon Stadium. They have shattered their own attendance records every season. And this league, though, bouncing back from scandal after scandal and so many years of scandals and not expanding, slowly growing. Now, here we are at this rate now with this league now reaching labor peace. Not just that, though, they extended their labor peace for another 2 to 4 years. Their current deal was supposed to run out, I believe, in 2026 or 2028. Now it will run out in 2030. And they have also expanded recently back to Utah and put a team in San Jose, California. So for a league to take all the body blows of scandals and, toxic workplaces, for them to shrug it off, do the work to get the league, to get the work done to make the league better. Now here we are now with new teams and new markets, growing fan bases in San Diego and Los Angeles and Salt Lake City and San Jose, California. And I believe they're going to Boston, I believe, next season, if not in 2027. And also getting more exposure on television with CBS Sports, Ion, Paramount Plus, you name it. Man, it is a great time. If you're still out there not fully on board embracing women's sports, now's the time to do it. The WNBA, the PWHL, the NWSL. Folks, I think it's time. I believe it's time that we now fully wrap our arms around women's sports and welcome them in, because they are not going away anytime soon. So we'll see how things go from here, but this is a huge, huge deal, though, for the NWSL going forward here today. James is wondering aloud, just curious, Callan, is there any big-time international female players that the NWSL can acquire to play in their league? James, I think the biggest name right now is Marta. Marta, the longtime Brazilian national superstar who's been playing with the Orlando Pride, has been in the league for a long time. Marta, I believe, said this would be her final Olympic Games with the Brazilian national team on Saturday. I think, James, that the league is already in a good spot, I think, right now. That really, I don't know, though, if there's like a female version, James, of Lionel Messi to Inter Miami, for example, because I think that with the NWSL, there's already so many big name players that people know from Team USA, Canada, Brazil, England, who are already playing in the NWSL, that they really don't have to really have to acquire that talent. For example, the Wave having Alex Morgan, Abby Dahlkemper, Kaylin Sheridan, Maria Bombi Sanchez. Like, they got 4 or 5 bona fide big name players from Team USA or Canada or Mexico on their roster. I think back, James, when I went to see them play Club America, the women's team for Club America, 2 weeks ago, I think, at Snapdragon for the NWSL Liga MX female tournament. That Club America team, man, had a lot of big name players, but I think have already kind of played in the league. They play internationally, but I don't know if there's like a earth-shattering big name women's player out there, James, that would really be like, my goodness, it's like Lionel Messi, for example, going to Inter Miami, for example, or just, thinking of like stuff like that, for example, at this point in time. So we'll see how things go at this rate. Tim, I believe that you had asked about rumors of Audra Martin and the Twins for this weekend. Tim, I'm trying to pull something up about that. Could you give some background here about what might be going on at this rate? I'm seeing some stuff pop up, though, that maybe that Audra Martin might be going from Bally Sports North to maybe having to throw for the start, or throw for the Twins at this rate. It sounds like at this rate. I mean, if that happens, who knows? But I don't really have a full lot of information about what I can pass along at this rate. So we'll see what does go on from there. But again, folks, the NWSL reaching a brand new CBA that will last until at least 2030 and also provide more stability and improve conditions for their players. Again, that will now expire in 2030. So guaranteed 6 more years of labor peace for the NWSL with their labor union and their current CBA at this rate. And Tim is saying that supposedly that she'll be making a start for the Twins versus the Guardians this weekend for the Twins. We'll see what happens, and if it does happen, Tim, we'll talk about it on our next program next week here on Press Row. But, folks, we're going to be out of here for the day at a full hour stop time here. Again, folks, big thank you to both Big Game James and our good man Tim Hendricks joining us over in Italy this, I believe, Tim, it's in the late evening over in Rome at this rate. If I'm right or wrong about that, let me know. I think it's at least like 10:30 or 11 o'clock in the evening over in Rome at this rate. But again, folks, I know that we've been promising this, and I know that we've been kind of in and out with my scheduling. But again, we do, folks, plan to be having the Puck and Roll podcast for the San Diego Late Draft League back on Sunday, coming at you a half hour earlier, a remote broadcast from Carlsbad, California, with myself, Gabe, John, and our league commissioner, Josh Fontaine, for a special sit-down interview at 3:30 p.m. on Sunday before Gabe and Josh go on their merry way to play their men's league game on Sunday night. But again, we're targeting that right now, folks. But as I said, though, we had a brief break due to scheduling with our league having a booking conflict, plus as well, we had a break in the action, too, for a huge tournament in Orange County, California. And then I've been still working on Sundays periodically. So, again, we're going to be getting back, though, folks, on our Puck and Roll ways. Again, as of now on Sunday, if something does change, we'll hopefully inform you folks about that as time does go on. And Tim says it is 10:30 in the evening, late Friday night over in Italy at this rate. With that in mind, though, folks, for yours truly, Callan McClurg, and our viewers, Tim Hendricks and James Gonzalez, we bid you all a pleasant rest of your day and a great weekend. We'll see you folks back here on PR next Thursday, 1 p.m. Pacific time, right back here on the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network, folks. Till next time, good day and have a great weekend. Bye. Until next time, so long. Bye-bye.